Hello, it's Nadia, and I am here for another video, and I am excited because I'm going to be talking about something that is near and dear to my heart. For those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Nadia, and I was 35 years old when I relocated with my family to Bali, Indonesia. We are originally from a very small island called Bermuda, and it is actually one of the most expensive places to live in the world. There are media that do these polls and they do research and they try to figure out what is the most expensive place to live. And Hamilton, Bermuda is constantly, for the last maybe 5 to 10 years, ranked in the top and usually number one. And so it's usually Bermuda and Switzerland and places like that take this unfortunate prize home of the most expensive places to live. And if you are actually from a place like Bermuda, you will definitely feel how expensive it is, even if you're visiting. I've heard people say, I go to the grocery shop and I'm just like, my jaw is dropping because things that were maybe $5 back home are triple the price. And it's like that for a lot of reasons. Obviously, when you're from a very small island, they have to import everything. We don't manufacture anything for ourselves. But in general, I've been seeing headlines from all across the Western world, from the US to the UK, and it's the same thing. It's just this sense of the cost of living just being so high and almost drowning people to the point where they can't really enjoy life and they can't really live a really good quality, balanced lifestyle because they are just trying to survive, trying to pay the bills. And so that's what this episode is about today. We're going to be talking about why the Western cost of living is negatively impacting your mental health. And that was so very much the case for me. And I don't think I realized it when I think about all the things that were very toxic about our lifestyle before or our life before. Cost of living wasn't something that immediately came to mind. But when I think about how I was actually able to take care of myself and the fact that I was saving so aggressively for our move that I had denied myself so many things, and it had become to the point where I was just existing. And so I'm going to be talking about that in this video. And if you have any questions, just share them in the comments below and I would love to get back to you. And hopefully, if there's something I haven't answered in this video, I will get back to you in a future video. So I'm going to dive in with a few questions. If you see me looking to the side, I'm looking at my laptop. So how did the rising cost of living start affecting my daily stress, choices, and sense of freedom? So like I mentioned, because life in Bermuda especially was so expensive, life in the West is so expensive, what I realized was I was not doing very much with my life. And so I would wake up and I got into this very kind of small routine where, you wake up, you go to work, you work until 5 o'clock, you pick up your child from school, you go home, we would make dinner, maybe watch TV, and we would go to bed. And then it was like this on repeat, right? Because by the time you get through traffic, by the time you actually get home, it's 6:37 and you're tired and you're just ready to eat and go to bed. And it just made for a very limited existence. There wasn't much that we were doing that was actually really fun. We only actually splurged and allowed ourselves to go out to dinner, even as a couple, like maybe once a quarter, if that, maybe once in a while. And so what I found was that I was struggling in so many different ways from the environment that we were in, the things that we were dealing with as a married couple, as a family. But I didn't really have the money or the ability to invest comfortably in myself to help with some of those things. I think that, for instance, exercise is proven to be a really amazing way to release endorphins and raise all the happy chemicals and things like that in your brain. But if you're actually not able or in a position to invest in some of these exercises, like right now, for instance, I do Pilates. I do Pilates almost every day of the week and I have a membership. But something like that would cost a lot of money back home. I can't even imagine trying to pay for a reformer Pilates class once a week, let alone every day of the week. And so because of that, I really did not have a consistent exercise routine when I was back in Bermuda. And that impacts how you feel about yourself, how you look, your health in general, your sleeping. It affects so many things that we don't even realize. And in terms of stress, for sure, there wasn't very much that I was doing that was fun. I was literally just living and doing all the things that you have to do, paying bills, going to work, obviously seeing family, going to church, doing all these things that in some ways were part of our routine, but were also not really exciting and didn't really allow us to do different things that were fun. And so that was my life for a long time. And so I'm not surprised when I look back that I was overwhelmed, that I was stressed out, that I wasn't really happy, because the cost of living made it really hard to do those things. Another thing that I think about and that comes to mind is even the house that I'm living in. When we lived in Bermuda, the cost of actually purchasing a house for us as a couple was out of reach. And so my husband had already purchased a property with his mom and his brother before we had even started dating, before we got married. And our only option was really to rent. And because renting is also very expensive. I think in Bermuda, if you're looking at a 2-bedroom and you have a family and you're looking at maybe like a small 2-bedroom cottage or something, you're looking at $3,000, $3,500, $4,000. It depends on how modern, how central to Hamilton and all those kind of things. And so it can definitely impact how you live, right? Because for us, we had to, I wouldn't say we had to, we chose, and we were grateful to be blessed with a family that were able to help us. And so my mom had a house and she had always made that house available to me to live in. And so I lived in the house. We paid her a small rent, but it was nothing compared to what it would actually be if she had listed that place on the market. And so that was just one way that we made a sacrifice. Like, I'm grateful that we got to live there for sure. It was a beautiful house, but it was, I guess, from a subconscious or even just from a self-esteem perspective, it was hard to live with family because you feel like, okay, I was in my early to mid 30s. I feel like I should be self-sufficient. I should be independent. I should be able to grow and thrive on my own. And I didn't really feel like I had that option. I think some of those things can slowly chip away at you and impact you, but we tried our best, and that was what was available to us, and that was the only way, or the best way, that we had to actually save aggressively, is to live with our family and to try to live below our means as much as possible. I remember in our last few years, and I'll talk about the finances and how we were able to save money for the move in another video, but the last year before we actually left, oh my gosh, I was saving so aggressively that I was living in a way that was like punishment. I remember, so I had some health challenges. I think I had maybe low iron, I had some digestive issues, and I was working with a naturopath, natural doctor, and they were trying to help me to create like a diet plan. But a lot of fresh produce in Bermuda is so expensive. Like, you can get a tub of fresh strawberries, which maybe lasts 2 days, 2 or 3 days, and it's going to cost you 10 to 12 US dollars. And so those kinds of things are expensive. And so what I would do in order to try to eat healthily, but also to keep to our budget, which was really tight and really strict, was I would eat this really sad lunch almost every single day. And I remember, so I would have 1 piece of whole wheat bread, and then I would make tuna, because tuna is good for different things. Obviously it's protein, but also it's omega. Anyways, so all of these things, I basically would have this piece of brown bread. I would have tuna fish with like mayonnaise mixed up, and then I would have frozen veggies on the side that obviously you heat up and you microwave. But this was my best way to get a semi-balanced lunch and meal in. But I felt so deprived. I felt like I was taking the joy out of my life, but I was so focused. I knew I wanted to relocate. I knew we needed to save as much as possible so that we had a nest egg and that we were just able to withstand any highs and lows that came after we moved, because that's life, right? There's always unexpected expenses, whether it's health things or paying for a accommodation or school fees, all of these things. We just wanted to have a really solid nest egg. And in order to do that, I had to save aggressively and sacrifice extremely. I lived like I was in jail, pretty much. So that was our life for at least maybe 1.5 to 2 years. Part of that time was during COVID, so we were home and it wasn't the same. But once we were out and working again, it really felt very like I was depriving myself of life, but I was sacrificing for a reason. The reality is that so many people have to live like this because of just the high cost of living in America, in the West, and it can really just rob your joy, rob your peace, and forces you to live in a state of survival mode, and your nervous system is just not calm, not relaxed, always stressed out about money, always thinking about money. It even just impacts your mindset around money and how you believe money is abundant and flowing. I really did believe that I had to hoard money. I really did believe that I had to keep money close to my chest and not spend it. And I would almost panic when I had to spend it for whatever reason. Like if our car had issues or something came up, it was something that was producing a lot of anxiety in me, because I understand you can't plan for everything in life, but it was just overwhelming when those big sudden emergency expenses would come up, and we were literally just trying to save for our move. Even before we started saving for our move, we were just living mostly paycheck to paycheck, saving a little bit here and there, but we weren't. It was really hard to save a lot. And so I'm gonna answer this question as well. What sacrifices became normal that slowly reduced my quality of life? And I think this is so true for all of us. We start to think that we have to go without. We start to think that it's okay to go without taking care of ourselves. And for us in Bermuda, a massage at a nice hotel is gonna be like maybe $200 after you add in gratuities and service charges and everything. There are some places you can go that are maybe a little bit more simple or basic, and you can maybe get a massage for $110. But I truly do believe, and now that I'm on the other side, I see how much richer life can get when you are taking care of yourself, when you are filling your cup, when you are just giving your body the rest it needs, when you are literally investing and pouring love into yourself and caring for yourself. And I'm just so grateful that I've reached the other side of that, because whoa, on the other side, it is so sad. It's sad because you're so scared of spending money that you can't pour into yourself the way that you need to. One thing I have definitely learned in life is that, and I actually learned this from Jay Shetty's book, The 8 Rules of Love, is that we sometimes have voids. Sometimes we feel unappreciated. Sometimes we feel unloved or unlovable. And sometimes we feel all of these different things, and they're usually stemming from childhood gaps. Maybe we didn't feel like our parents really poured into us the way that we wanted. Maybe we felt neglected, but we have these voids as a result. And as an adult, the beauty, if you have money and if you are living in a place that allows you to have a decent quality of life and good cost of living, is that you can actually start to fill these voids yourself. You don't have to wait for anything external or anyone outside of yourself to fill these voids. So I really made it my mission to love on myself to the 10th degree since I moved out here. I realized if there's a day where I see beautiful flowers, I can treat myself to that, and it's only a few dollars. And so I've bought these beautiful bouquets, and they are like maybe $4, maybe $6, maybe $7. I think the most I've spent on flowers out here is probably like $18 on some flowers for a friend, and that was around Valentine's Day, so they had hiked up the prices. But yeah, on a regular basis, we can take ourselves out to a nice lunch. We can treat ourselves to the nice steak and not having to think about and look at just the prices when you look through a menu. That's literally how I lived before. I was looking at a menu at dinner and only looking at the things that were under what I felt like I wanted to spend. And that's what I would choose from. So if it was only like 2 or 3 things and it wasn't really what I desired or wanted, I think that's how my life has just changed in these small but really big ways. It's just, if I go out, I'm literally trying to remind myself I can afford what's on this menu and I get to enjoy what I actually want to eat and not just choose something and settle for something and sacrifice all the time, because that was literally how I was living for so long, and you have to condition yourself out of it. There's just these small ways that you're able to pour into yourself. If I want to treat myself to a massage, if I want to get my hair washed, if I want to get my nails done, if I want to get my eyebrows done, these are all things that I probably would not have invested in, and definitely not on a regular basis, more so on a special occasion. So for me, in my life in Bermuda previously, it was like a special occasion to go to get a massage. So I would do it maybe on my birthday, or maybe I would ask for gift certificates for my Christmas presents. I'm sure, all of the stress and stuff you feel in your back, and you don't really have a way to just maintain and manage and continue to invest in yourself and support your holistic care in the way that you want to and the way that you truthfully deserve to. And what I've realized is that is the beauty of living in a place where you... Sorry, my son is here. He's home from school, so he's making some squeals and giggles. But yeah, it's literally just such a blessing to be able to afford to live in a place where you have a high quality of life and a low cost of living. It really does so many wonders for your mental health, for your mindset, for how you think about abundance, how you think about money, and realizing that money is energy. You learn so much about yourself and your way of showing up in the world just because you can relax a little bit and actually enjoy life. So the last question I want to talk about and chat about in this video is, what do people underestimate about living in constant financial tension? So if this is you, if you are literally living in survival mode, if you're constantly worried about bills, if you get anxiety and panic attacks when you have to go grocery shopping and you're looking through all of the things that are adding up just slowly as you're putting things into your cart, if you are even in a place where you cannot at all afford to, or you feel like you can't afford to treat yourself well, to nourish yourself, to take the best care of yourself possible, then it might be time to think about moving, at the very least for your cost of living, but also for your mental health, because all of those things really spill into how we're able to live. I can't even imagine having to be so stressed out, where you hear about people that are like seniors and they still have to work. That's definitely a reality where we come from in Bermuda. Seniors, and sometimes they're packing groceries because they don't have enough money saved from their retirement, and their pension doesn't stretch big enough to be able to afford groceries and things. I just really feel for people that are in that situation, and there's so many of us that are, unfortunately, because of the cost of living and the cost of a mortgage and the cost of even just taking out a loan with the bank and the interest rates, it can just be so stifling and feel like it's literally a punishment to just live and survive. And so if you are in that place, I see you. I know what it's like. Trust me when I say it was not easy for us to save, to relocate. We had my husband's massive mortgage on a multi-million-dollar property in Bermuda. We had to utilize family help and family support, which definitely impacted my self-esteem and made me feel like I was a little bit pathetic at times, but I just knew it was what we had to do for a short period of time to rise above our situation and get out of a place that was not healthy for my mental health and my healing and my just personal journey. And so if you are in that place, trust me, I see you. It is so hard, but I do believe in you. I do believe that you can do it. I do believe that you can decide on what short-term sacrifices to make now, so that on the other end, you can start to really live life so much more fully and beautifully and richly. I am not someone who believes in spending money on designer labels or fancy bags or anything like that, but I do believe that we all deserve to live in peace, to have just a stable nervous system, to be able to enjoy life, to have the moments and experiences and memories that we desire, to be able to pour into ourselves, to take care of ourselves and our loved ones to the best ability. And so because of that, I really do hope that if you are struggling, if you are literally in survival mode, that you will think about how you can cut costs now and relocate to a place where your dollar goes much further and where you can literally start to exhale and release and just enjoy life more. So hopefully you liked this video. If you did, please leave a comment and let me know. And also, if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section as well. I'd love to hear and I'd love to answer those in a future video. So bye for now. I'll see you again soon.